All right, so we got a VIP question submitted from Kyle S. Just watched Crystal Mountain podcast, and it brought to mind a sort of problem that I've been debating over recently. I'd love to hear you guys talk about the pros and cons on the podcast. Is it worth moving away from the areas with better resorts, better snowfall, and terrain to an area that hasn't been overrun yet, that provides easy, hassle-free access to smaller resorts that may be less challenging and fun to ride at? Thanks for all the great content. So, this is a hard question.
I go with yes in some respects because it's all dependent on what you want.
Yeah, I think that's really the big question is you've got to, it's going to be individual, it's going to be personal, and it's very dependent on the individual. For me, no.
For me, I can't because right here is the length of the season. If I move somewhere with a shorter season or that's more prone to volatile weather, like even a bad year here, we're guaranteed to at least get 100 and something days on the mountain between snowmaking and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get the reviews done, and that's the thing. So I have to give up the mental sanity of not dealing with lines and stuff.
Yeah.
To be here to deal with the crowds. Plus, I'm so centrally located to all of our reps. It's so easy to get product here.
Yeah.
I mean, if I moved to the middle of bumfuck, getting product would become non-existent, which means this would become non-existent.
Yeah.
So I have to look at that. But if I was just riding,
the type of dude that's out there that's getting maybe 30 to 60 days a year, and talking about our situation specifically. So a guy that gets 30 to 60 days a year and lives in Fairplay or Alma, yeah, he's got no reason to really stay in Colorado. He could move out to Idaho, or he could move out to Montana or wherever. It's going to be literally
Southwest
no
Colorado.
So, it's going to be no different for him.
Yeah.
And then get access to a resort that's got way less going on. So,
I've thought about this too, and so my big thing would be, I was talking with a friend of mine about this, and he was like, "Well, what do you think? Would you move to a small resort where you could get more vertical in the day because Monday through Friday is just going to be dead, and it's going to be you and like 40, 50 people, but the weekends are crowded, or would you stay here where you get less vertical, longer lines?" And I'm like, it's a give or take, but my snow is more consistent.
Yeah.
And, he was talking about it, and he's like, "I think I'm just going to go move to a smaller place because it's just easier mentally for me." And I was like, he's like, "For you, it doesn't make sense." And I think, with everything that's going on with these mega passes and infrastructure upgrades just haven't happened and terrain hasn't expanded and there's just not that, I think people are going to start to debate this, especially people that live in, Salt Lake, Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, Los Angeles, that type of stuff. Even people living in Denver, they're all debating it. Like, I've got a lot of friends that are moving up to Montana, and I had a lot of friends from Idaho that used to live here. They moved back to Idaho, and they're just like, "Dude, it's great. We're at the mountain in a half hour. We drive a little bit more, but on a powder day, we don't have to be there for first chair. We don't have to fight for it."
Yeah.
They just seem happier. It's what they want out of it, and that's the big thing. With everything going on in the world and everything with me, I constantly keep debating on if I should just buy a house in Montana and rent it and just have a caretaker unit so I can go up to Montana when I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
And be like, "Oh, Montana's getting hammered. I'm going to go up for a month and just smash pow boards for a month," and then be like, "Oh, Montana dried up, but Colorado's still got good groomers. I'm going to come down here and just ride carving boards or park boards." And I go back and forth with that. That's just a loose idea. And it really does come down to the choices you want to make. I mean, if I lost or quit Angry today, I would probably move to Montana. I would probably move someplace western Montana. Maybe I'd be riding like Lost Trails or something like that, one of those little places. Or maybe I'd go into central, more central-ish, and go to Red Lodge or something. And, it's also like move down to Monarch, and just ride natural snow and not deal with shit. Or, go to Taos because Taos isn't as blown out yet. And then I could also ride Red River, New Mexico. You know, everyone, I haven't been, but, you know, Arizona Snow Bowl outside Flagstaff. I really liked Flagstaff, and I was just like, temperature was right for me where it wouldn't kill me, except for like the heat of the midsummer. But I could just hide inside for that time frame. But you know, the year round, I could probably deal with that and be fine. That's my thing. Is like climate's part of the reason I stay in Colorado. Sunshine. Mm-hmm. Sunshine's one. The fact that summers up here in the mountains don't get above 95 on the hottest of days. So that's that and bugs. There's no bugs up here.
There's nothing.
There's no mosquitoes. I don't want West Nile or Zika or whatever it is. And so that's another thing. But for anyone out there listening or watching this, I think the big thing is did you just fart?
No, that was.
Oh, okay. I see. But yeah, so the big thing with that is the choices you want to make and what do you want to get. I mean, living in Seattle's got to suck if you're going to Stevens Pass. You know, you're up early, you're fighting. Like when I lived there 15 years ago, you know, it was crowded on the weekends, but it was manageable. Like I was like, okay, now I've heard it's just fucking unmanageable to the point where you're just fucking miserable. Or, you know, I've got friends that live in Truckee and they just show me the aftermath of what happens when they get snow and all of Sacramento and, you know, everything, San Francisco all come up from the Bay Area and just destroy them. Or, you know, I can't imagine, like the few times I've been to Bear, I just can't imagine what that's like when, you know, it's gone assholes and elbows out there. Well, you know, because you used to ride there when
Bear never got crazy, I feel like. I don't really remember. I mean, and I was a weekend warrior at that point too.
Yeah.
So, but Bear is park or gunners. That's it. They don't get power.
No.
When I lived there.
No.
So.
But, you know, then you look at like those lift lines that Vail had when we got all that snow.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that's an extreme situation, and that's everyone funneling into one area. But, yeah, you know, I've got friends in Utah, and they're telling me about how the canyons have getting up to like Brighton and Solitude and how they're trying to mitigate everything. And I was like, you guys just have a population growth.
Yeah. And
you're going to you either have to suck it up for a couple years and it'll figure itself out, or you got to move away. But, you know, at the same time, you also have, like, what blows my mind is it's like living in Breckenridge. Everyone's like, but you don't ride Breckenridge. And I was like, I can't ride Breckenridge. I'm banned. But everyone asks me, they're like, well, you have to drive all the way to Copper. And I was like, yeah, but you got to understand, like, if you look at it, play it by the numbers, a busy day at Breckenridge is like 25,000+ people, and a busy day at Copper is like 13 to 18,000. Just by numbers, it's sheer numbers. It's different. Also, Copper sets the mountain up different, so it keeps people in certain areas. If you know where to go, you never run into a crowd, you know? And that's the thing. Like, living here, you learn how to manage the crowds, and you learn how to get in and out of areas and what time of the days certain areas are going to be good and certain areas are going to be bad. And, you know, there's the feeding time at the zoo phenomenon, which no one believes me until they witness it. And they're like, holy shit, like 11:45 to 1:15. I was like, hour and a half. Mountain gets really oddly empty.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's feeding time at the zoo. You go into the lodge, though, and it's a shit show.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. And I explain it to people when they come to Breck. Like, when I used to ride it, I actually was showing a couple around from Switzerland, and I told them, I was like, we'll probably get close to 50,000 vertical. You guys want to ride trees? We're not going to go above into the high alpine. Boom, boom, boom. It was a powder day, and they couldn't believe it. They're like, they never hit a line, and they're like, you'd be going by, and you'd just be like, line formed. We got to go here now. And I rode the whole mountain like a wave, and we hit all of the peaks. And by the time we were done, we started at 9 in the morning. We were done at 12:45, and we went to lunch, and they were like, the husband was like, I didn't believe you that we'd get this much vertical. And I think we were at 47.8 vertical. And he's like, I didn't think that was possible. And I was like, it is if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, if you know where to go.
If you know where to go, yeah. If you don't. But I think for anyone out there that's seriously debating and they have a career or a job that allows them to be like, not a weekend warrior, I would, like, if I had to live in Denver, I'd kill myself. I'd just kill myself. I'd quit.
I could do it.
You did do it one year.
Yeah, that was different though. I could do it now. I couldn't do it then.
Yeah.
But the big thing I think is the amenities. Can you handle not having civilized amenities?
Oh, yeah.
Like all the extra stuff that comes with being close to or in a big city. That's the big question. If you can handle not having any of that and actually living in a mountain town that has one grocery store and one convenience store and 2 bars, then yeah, go to one of those little mountains.
Yeah.
If you can handle living like that, then I encourage it. Like, you're just gonna have better quality of life at that point.
Well, it's like it's the debate of, do you live in Jackson or do you live in Driggs and Victor and ride Targhee? I would personally live, even though it's god awful over there, I'd probably live in Driggs or Victor so I could ride Targhee and then I could just drive over the pass and go to Jackson. That's me. That drive wouldn't even faze me. I'd just be like, that's part of my drive, It's like everyone's like, oh, you have to drive so much to get to Copper, and I was like, if I'm up early enough, it's 15 to 18 minutes for me to get to Copper. It's about the same for me to get to the basin. I have a parking pass at Copper. Everyone's like, oh, you have a parking pass. You had to pay $300 for a parking pass. And I was like, well, false, because I split it with a friend because you can have 2 cars, so I pay $150. But I was thinking about it today. The parking lot I park in every day on the Monday through Thursday, it's $18, and Friday through Sunday, regular Friday and through Sunday, it's $22, and then if it's a holiday weekend or peak time, it's $30 a day. I was like, that thing's costing me nothing to park slopeside. I can roll in. I'm right there. I walk to the car. I walk back. It's great. But I also know, like, a basin, when it's not a busy weekend or anything like that, when I roll up, it's 10 in the morning and I'm 3rd, 4th row parked.
Yeah.
And that's a no amenities, no frills resort by and large. So I think, it comes down to the person and what they want.
Yep.
But for me personally, I'm the type of guy, like, I grew up in a small town. I could say fuck it. Like, case in point, when I was a kid and I lived 14 miles from the ski resort in the town I grew up, so the nearest fast food was was across the street from the ski resort. That was the Burger King. So, and that was a treat to get that. But nearest Walmart was a half-hour drive. The grocery store was they had 2 grocery stores, one in our town and the town next to us, and it was all sure fine and knockoff everything. Like, it wasn't brand name stuff. I mean, I remember when the first time I ate Taco Bell because we got it. I didn't eat Taco Bell until I was 15, I think. Like, as weird as that sounds, people are like, what? I mean, if I wanted a donut, just a donut, like a glazed donut, I had to drive a half hour to get there. Nearest movie theater was 45 minutes to an hour away. Nearest shopping mall was an hour away. It's funny when you start to think about it. Like, I remember when we finally got dial-up internet and how hard that was. I mean, just to have that was crazy. Like, there was a point in my childhood where you couldn't get cable in the town I lived in.
Yeah.
And if you had satellite, I'm not talking it was a little satellite dish. You had the big motherfucking behemoth that you had to pray didn't get hit by lightning. It was stuff like that. My dad drove an Audi when I was a child. The nearest Audi mechanic was 3 hours away. One way, 3 hours. So 6 hours to go to a mechanic for an Audi. Just little things like that, So for me, I can go back to that as long as there's internet. That's the only thing that drives me insane is if I don't have internet. Like, that's the one thing I need. But fast food, I don't even eat fast food. I've never had Chick-fil-A. I probably never will. I don't even care. It's fine with me. Like that. I can live without things. Some people just can't.
I grew up south of Denver.
Yeah, you did. You were like Castle Rock area.
No, south of that. I was in Springs.
Yeah. But like North Springs, weren't you?
Ish.
Ish.
Yeah. It's not like Central.
Central.
Springs has exploded, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you need? Ask yourself that,
Yeah.
and then you got your answer.
Yep.